Good morning, students. Today we'll be continuing with Science 2, chapter number 3. If you remember in the previous lecture, we learnt about asexual reproduction and sexual reproduction in flowering plants. We also learnt about the human reproductive system, that is the male reproductive system and the female reproductive system. Now we'll be continuing from there. If you remember when we defined sexual reproduction, we said that there are two main parts or processes to it. The first one is called as gamete formation and the second one is fertilization. Now during gamete formation, the number of chromosome becomes half. In case of human being, the male gamete is called as a sperm and the female gamete is called as a ovum. Here ovum means singular and ova means plural. It's a very interesting thing regarding the sperm formation in case of man. A man can produce sperm from the time of puberty till his death, while in case of woman it is not so. When a woman is born, that is a baby girl is born, at the time of the birth there are around 2 to 4 million immature oocyte. Oocyte means immature ovum cells are present in the ovary of every female. But by the time the girl reaches puberty, it can be at any age between 10, 11, 12, most of the oocytes undergo degeneration and only around 400 oocytes are left. So from the age of puberty, that is maybe from the age of around 10 years, 11 years or 12 years, every month one ovum is released from the ovary. And this process goes on till around 50-55 years of age. After the age of 50-55 years, slowly the hormone that controls the functioning of the female reproductive system slowly becomes less or irregular, and this ovum generation also reduces. This process is called as menopause. That means if you look at it, that in case of a man, the man has the capability of producing a sperm every day from the time of puberty till he dies, whereas that is not the case in case of a woman. Fertilization. Now, fertilization is the process in which a zygote is formed by the union of a male sperm and a female ovum. In case of human being, fertilization is an internal process. The sperms, that is the male gamete, are quite few in number, nearly like millions of them, starts their journey in the route through vagina to uterus to oviduct. And only one out of these few millions of sperms fertilizes the ovum present in the oviduct. So we saw about gamete formation and about fertilization. What happens to the zygote after fertilization? The zygote that was formed after fertilization in the oviduct undergoes continuous repeated mitotic division and slowly an embryo is formed. Meanwhile, it is pushed towards the uterus. Once the embryo reaches the uterus, it is implanted and slowly further development takes place. An organ called as in placenta is formed for supply of food during the growth inside the uterus. This development in case of a human being takes around 9 months after fertilization and a baby is born. Let us try to understand how is the gender of the child determined. That is, whether the baby born will be a boy or a girl. Now we know in case of human beings there are 23 pairs of chromosomes, out of which there are 22 pairs of autosome and 1 pair of sex chromosome. The human male contains XY chromosome while the human female consists of XX chromosome. That is, in case of human males, the 23rd pair of chromosome contains two dissimilar chromosomes X chromosome and Y chromosome. Whereas in case of females, the 23rd pair contains two similar X chromosomes. So all the children gets one X chromosome from their mother and the other chromosome is inherited from the father. If the chromosome inherited from the father is X, then the child will be a girl. If it is Y, then the child will be a boy. So we need to understand that it is the father who is absolutely responsible for the sex of the child. That is, whether the child will be a boy or the child will be a girl depends upon the type of chromosome that the child gets from his father. The female reproductive system undergoes some changes at the time of puberty, and those changes repeat at the interval of 28 to 30 days. These repetitive changes are called as menstrual cycle. Menstrual cycle is a natural process and it is controlled by four hormones. These hormones are follicle stimulating hormone or FSH, luteinizing hormone LH, estrogen and progesterone. One of the several follicle in the ovary starts to develop along with the oocyte present in it under the influence of FSH. This developing follicle secretes estrogen. The endometrium of the uterus starts to develop during the first cycle or starts to regenerate during the subsequent cycle under the effect of the estrogen. Endometrium is nothing but the inner lining of the uterus. Meanwhile, the developing follicle completes its development. This bursts under the effect of the LH hormone and the oocyte is released. This is called as ovulation. Now this oocyte travels up till the oviduct. The remaining tissues of the burst follicle forms the corpus luteum. Now the corpus luteum starts to secrete another hormone called as progesterone. Such endometrium is ready for implantation of the embryo. That means the whole inner lining of the uterus starts developing with the hormones with the expectation that the fertilization will take place and the embryo will be implanted in the uterus. If the oocyte is not fertilized within 24 hours, the corpus luteum becomes inactive and transforms into corpus albicans. Due to this, secretion of estrogen and progesterone stops absolutely. Endometrium starts to degenerate in the absence of these two hormones. Tissues of degenerating endometrium, the unfertilized ovum, etc. is discarded through the vagina. This is accompanied with continuous bleeding. This bleeding continues approximately for 5 days. This is called as menstruation. This process is repeated every month. What we have to understand is menstrual cycle is a natural process and it occurs to every woman. Because of this, that woman has to be very particular about their personal hygiene during this particular period.